The outrageous mischaracterization of my history and record on voting rights and race relations as a result of inadvertently leaving out the word almost in my comments the other day. African American turnout nationwide has been roughly increasing as all Americans has all increased. Interestingly enough, in Mississippi last year, the African American turnout was both higher than the non-African American turnout, and a higher percentage of African Americans voted in Mississippi than voted in Massachusetts. So clearly, the bills that have been styled voting rights have been misrepresented, and we had that debate this week. In terms of my own life and career, I was there for Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech in the audience. When I was a student at U of L, I helped organize the March on Frankfurt for a state public accommodations law. Thanks to my role model, Senator John Sherman Cooper, I was actually there when President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act in the Capitol in 1965. This outrageous mischaracterization of my record as a result of leaving one word out inadvertently the other day, which I just now have supplied to you, is deeply offensive. The Voting Rights Act is still the law. It was not struck down by the Supreme Court. It's still against the law, has been for over 50 years, to try to prevent someone from voting on the basis of race. States do largely control voting, and many states do engage in certain kinds of policies to prevent fraud. That's why fraud is so uncommon. Kentucky was a good example of a state that took a look at its laws after the pandemic, decided to make some changes, and not only, as you know, did make some changes, but it was passed on a bipartisan basis and signed by a Democratic governor. And most people would say that Kentucky law is more restrictive than the new Georgia law. So I think caution should dictate before declaring laws that have been passed in various states as restrictive. They ought to actually be read. Now, are some legislators in some states, just like some members of Congress, proposing bad ideas? Sure, they don't pass. They don't pass. There are bad ideas introduced all the time in both the state legislatures around America and Congress, but they don't pass. And so what's really going on here with they co-opted Congressman Lewis's name, stuck it on a bill that really was not related to the Voting Rights Act, which doesn't expire for a number of years and hasn't been struck down, in order to try to achieve a partisan advantage by federalizing election laws, which they have been trying to do for a number of years using different excuses at different points. With that, I'll be happy to, actually, I know you're not interested in it, but I'm here today talking to the Kentuckians for Better Transportation because Kentucky's going to get about $5 billion. Some of that money's come down already out of the infrastructure bill. I was proud to support it, the only member of my party from the Kentucky delegation who did, and I think it's going to make a dramatic positive impact on transportation projects in our state.